Joining me now is another 100% award recipient, Congressman Chip Roy of Texas. He serves on the House Judiciary Committee, the Rules Committee, and the Budget Committee. He is the representative for the 21st Congressional District of Texas. Congressman Roy, welcome back to Washington Watch. Thanks for joining me.
Great to be on with you, Tony. Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well, and congratulations on receiving the 100% award from FRC Action.
Yeah, honored as always. Thanks for keeping score and holding our feet in the fire. And for some of us, it might be a little bit easier than others, but really honored.
Yeah, for some it's the feet, others just patting them on the back. All right, let me ask you. Today I talked about this earlier in the program. Explosive hearing in the Judiciary Committee. Attorney General Pam Bondi. I mean, it kind of looked like a circus.
Yeah, there was a lot of barbs being thrown around by Democrats directed at the Attorney General. In fact, I missed a part of it because I was down on the floor running the rule for the Save America Act. But in the committee, we had a lot of spirited back and forth. But look, I focused my attention when I talked to her about the extent to which, one, the Save America Act is needed by virtue of the questions I asked her, which she validated, that they have been indicting and going after individuals who have been engaged in election fraud and voter fraud. And by the way, I asked her a simple question. When you do that, does that unring the bell on their vote? And the answer is no. That's why you need something that's prophylactic like the Save America Act. But in addition, we talked about their office where they deal with all of the judges, the immigration judges on the asylum claims, how the backlog is going down to President Trump because of his policies, how that's helping them be able to carry out justice more effectively. And then I pressed her a little bit on Epstein and making sure that we're protecting victims while seeking truth, but reminding people that Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were both indicted by the first Trump administration. So we had a good back and forth, and hopefully people are seeing that we're going after criminals and doing the work that they sent us there to do. Well, it was interesting hearing, and
I'll leave it at that because I want to go back to the Save America Act. As you said, you were down on the floor. I was watching it actually on C-SPAN, watching you on the floor regarding the rule. Let's talk about this because I think this is extremely important because you have states that are not protecting the vote, the sanctity of the vote. And that's actually, let's say, you got a blue state like California that doesn't really care, or they actually want, they want bad things to happen. I'll leave it at that. But that's robbing people in Texas and other states. So it reaches beyond the border of that state that's not securing the ballot.
Yeah, it does, and I'll take it one step further because you and I are both Federalists, right? Neither one of us are reflexively wanting to federalize law. But in this case, there's a direct constitutional underpinning, right? Congress is given the ability to set the rules and standards for their own elections and federal elections alongside the states. But also we have purview over immigration and border security, right? It's in the Constitution. But importantly, there are some states that want to do this and are being prohibited by federal judges from actually making sure that their voter rolls are checked against the federal database to ensure citizenship. Arizona, for example, has two sets of data, two systems, one for their state and local elections, one for federal. We fixed that. This, I think, is actually a pro-states, pro-limited government position by just setting a baseline of the standard. Yes, we require it at a federal level for federal elections. But we make all the data available. We let states set a lot of the rules, require a voter ID, require that you check citizenship. It's not really complex.
But we do that now from a standpoint of the federal government sets the standard in some ways for federal elections. We determine when they're going to be. And so this is not like earth-shattering that we're saying, all right, we've got this problem in our election system, and therefore, you got to have an ID to make sure you vote, so that we're ensuring that it's only American citizens who are voting in federal elections.
No, that's exactly right. And my Democratic colleagues have been trying to spin people up, making wild-eyed claims that women aren't going to be able to vote because they make a name change when they get married, or that somehow our men and women in uniform aren't going to be able to vote. All of those things are false. The original version of the SAVE Act had protections, but we actually added some additional safeguards in this version just to clarify and make sure that if a woman was married and her names didn't align, she could sign an affidavit We've taken care of every possible option here. We're empowering states to do it. Again, this polls off the charts, Tony. You know this.
Yeah.
Republicans is 90%, Democrats it's 71%. Among Hispanics, blacks, whites, all over 70% support, overwhelming support across the country for voter ID and to ensure that only citizens vote. We're moving it off the floor of the House, I hope, in the next hour here in the House. And then I hope we can push the Senate to actually move on it and engage a talking filibuster to do so.
Congressman Chip Roy, one final question before you got a minute and a half left. Yesterday in the subcommittee on the Constitution and Limited Government, a hearing on Sharia-Free America, why political Islam and Sharia law are incompatible with the U.S. Constitution. This is something that Congress has a responsibility to do to make sure that our states have a Republican form of government in the terms of it fits within our Constitution.
Yeah, that's right, Tony. I mean, look, some people are trying to say that having hearings like that are contradictory to the First Amendment. I disagree. The United States of America was founded on principles that are central to Western civilization. Our Declaration, our Constitution, the rule of law. Sharia is inconsistent with that. The hearing yesterday made very clear that Sharia is inconsistent with that. The other thing that we made clear was that Sharia is also central to the vast majority of Muslims. And therefore, when our immigration system brings lots of Muslims to America, you end up with problems like Epic City and Plano and these enclaves across the country, and where you're starting to see Sharia courts like we see in Scotland and England, where there are 85 in the United Kingdom, Sharia courts alongside their civil courts. That is not something we can tolerate here. We need to be open about this. We need to be aggressive about this. Islamism and wanting to turn America into an Islamic state is real. It's well-funded. We need to identify it, expose it, point out how it undermines our system, and then fight to change it.
And we'll continue to track that as that continues to be a topic of focus. Congressman Chip Roy, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Tony. God bless.